Hi, I'm Gina. Today, I'm going to be walking you through the learn.palantir.com course, Speedrun, mining your first business process. In this course, we're going to be learning about machinery. So machinery is Foundry's process mining tool. That's going to allow us to visualize our process end-to-end and identify bottlenecks and other problems. Before we get started, a quick word from our founder.
Discover how Palantir customers unlock more value from Foundry and AIP thanks to our live instructor-led trainings. We are Ontologize, a group of former Palantir engineers who love teaching. We've trained thousands of Palantir users at leading organizations around the world. Unlock the full potential of your Palantir deployment by going to ontologize.com.
Starting from learn.palantir.com, make sure you're logged in. And you're going to navigate to courses. And here you can see all the courses. And you're going to navigate all the way down to Speedrun, mining your first business process. Click on it. Make sure you're registered, and we'll get to it. First, we're going to start with the course introduction. The course introduction is going to give you an overview about machinery and a high-level overview of the course. So machinery is a process mining and authoring application. That's how we're able to visualize a process and understand if things are going wrong in it, if there are specific bottlenecks, if there's something that needs our attention. In the course, we're going to be focusing on process mining instead of process authoring. We're going to take a set of existing insurance claims. We're going to be doing an analysis of an existing insurance claims process. In this exercise, we're going to be looking at why certain claims are unresolved and what can we do to resolve this. We're going to start with data, and then we're going to develop an ontology. Once we have an ontology, we're going to start mining the process logs into a machinery process. And finally, we're going to embed the process into a nice application that is friendlier to end users. Up next, we have our permissions and our help. So these are the specific permissions that you're going to need. You're going to need to be able to create ontology assets. You're going to need edit access to your project. And you're going to need to be able to create Foundry resources. And of course, you're going to need access to Ontology Manager, Machinery, and Workshop. As always, if you have feedback on the course, Palantir provides a feedback email. And now we're going to talk about the use case. In this course, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of somebody who works at an insurance company. We're facing an issue where there are complaints that claims are taking too long to be processed. Our goal is to answer the questions: what is causing the delay and how big is the problem? We're going to be taking the following steps to answer this question. Let's continue on to project setup. You'll need a project to do your work in. You can either create a project now, or if you already have a project, you can definitely use that one. This next step is going to walk you through how to create a project if you don't have one already. If you have a project, or once you have made your project, you're going to create a folder in whatever project you're working in for our resources to live. Let's go do it. From anywhere in Foundry, you're going to navigate to the sidebar, click on Files. Either you're going to follow the steps to create a new project, or you're going to navigate to Projects, find your existing project. Mine is called Gina, Palantir Learning Project. Click on it. Hit New. Click on Folder. Call this one Speedrun. Mining your first business process. There we have our folder. You'll click on that folder, and this is where everything is going to go. Should be totally empty right now. Let's move on to the next step. Just as many workflows start, we're going to begin with data. We're going to ingest the data that we need to be able to mine the process. We have a claims data set. These are the entities that are actually going through the process. Up next, we have the logs. The logs represent the state transitions that are undergone by the process entities. That's going to include the process ID, a state, and a timestamp. Lastly, we have the customers. If you don't have the ability to download datasets on your computer or upload datasets onto your Foundry instance, you'll follow the directions to add the datasets by a marketplace. That is only if you cannot download and upload the datasets yourself. Assuming you can download and upload data, you're going to click on these 3 data sets: customers, claim logs, and claims. Once you've downloaded them, we're going to move on to the next step. Back in Foundry, you're going to hit New, Upload Files, choose from your computer, grab those 3 data sets, 1, 2, and 3, and hit Open. Make sure you upload as individual structured data sets, and hit Upload, and hit Done. Now that we've uploaded the data, let's go take a look at these data sets. Let's start by looking at the claim logs. So we're going to click on Claim Logs. Here we have the log ID, the claim ID, the state, and the timestamp. Note that if your timestamp is not properly parsed as a timestamp, if it's parsed as a date time, you're going to have to follow the directions of the chorus to parse it into a timestamp. You'll find those directions here in the Data Overview section. We'll begin by taking a look at the customer's dataset. Click on Customer. We have country, if they're high risk, an email, a customer ID, a name, and an address. Everything looks parsed properly here, so we're not going to have to make any changes. We'll go back to the root, and we're going to investigate claims. Click on Claims. So in claims, we have the current state, the claim, the claimant ID, the type, the letter, the reason, the value, the country, if it's a high risk, and the claim date. Careful here, because you'll see that the claim date has been parsed as a date time, and we actually need it as a timestamp. So we're going to go follow the instructions in the chorus to parse that into a proper timestamp. Let's go do that. To properly parse this as a timestamp, we're going to need to give Foundry a format to parse it as. So copy and paste this, Control-C. We're going to navigate back to the dataset. Now on the side, you're going to hit Edit Schema, navigate to Claim Date, click on where it says Date Time, click on Dates and Times, paste in that format that's given to you in the chorus. So timestamp type, and then hit Apply. Hit Save and Validate. And we have a proper looking timestamp. Let's move on to logs. Go back up the root. Go to Claims Logs. We have log ID, we have claim ID, we have the state, and the timestamp, which is a proper timestamp. If you have a date time here, you're going to follow the same steps in the last part to make sure that this is parsed properly as a timestamp. At this point, we have ingested our data, we've taken a look at it, modified the schema, and it's time to integrate it into Ontology so that we can use it with machinery. Let's do it. In this exercise, we're going to be creating the customer object, the claim object, the relationship between a customer and a claim, and that's going to be it for our Ontology. Let's hop into Foundry and do it. So from here, or for wherever you are, you're going to hit Control-J and search for Ontology Manager. You're going to click on Ontology Manager. Here we are in Ontology Manager. If you don't have permission to hit this New button, you're going to need that. One thing you can do is switch to building on a branch. We're on the main branch right now. If you can't hit that New button, try making a branch. You can also try switching ontologies to one that you're able to modify. So we'll hit New, Object Type. We're going to continue with an existing data source, like use existing data source. Select data source. In the folder, Speedrun Mining Your First Business Process, so click into that folder. Grab Customers. Click on Customers and select. Hit Next. Prefix this with your name. The reason why we're prefixing this with our names is because your colleagues might be doing the same exercise. If you've done this exercise before and are just looking to get refreshed, you might want to add something else to the prefix. So for me, I'm going to add first name, last initial. You can change the icon if you like to a little person. We're going to hit Next. You'll see that the columns from the dataset are being mapped to properties. For the primary key, we're going to use customer ID. For the title key, it's going to be name. You're going to hit next. No need to generate any action types. Hit create. Up next, we're creating the claim object type. Hit new. Object type. Use existing data source. Select a data source. Click into that folder, Speedrun, and mining your first business process. Click on claims. Hit select. And next, for the name, I'm going to prefix this with Gina C. You can also get rid of the plural here. For the icon, a document might work. Hit next. For the primary key, it's going to be claim ID. For the title, it's also going to be claim ID. Hit next. No action types needed, and create. You'll notice here in the course, they have you save every time you create a new object. It's fine to do it both ways. It's fine to save every time you create a new object. It's also fine to just save at the end. The benefit of saving often is that sometimes it can be easier to debug. For now, we're just saving at the end. Up next, we're going to create the relationship between customer and claim. So this is going to be a one-to-many relation, where one customer can have many claims, and every claim only has one customer. So that's going to be a foreign key relationship. So we're going to hit new, link type, click on object type foreign keys, and hit next. On the many side, it's going to be claim. So Gina C, claim. The foreign key here is going to be claimant ID. On the other side, on the one side of the one-to-many relationship, it's going to be Gina C, customers. So click on customers and customer ID. And hit next. And next. And now we're ready to go. So you're going to hit save. And save to Ontology. And save changes. And now we've created our Ontology. We'll move on to the next steps. We have two object types now, customers and claims, and we've defined the relationship between customers and claims. Now we're going to move on to the process mining step. In this section, we're going to use machinery, and we're going to use it to mine the claims process from our data. So machinery is going to read the logs dataset, transform it into a log object, and then that's going to be integrated into the ontology alongside the object types that we already defined. After that, we're going to be able to mine the process and have a high-level view of the entire process and see if there are any specific bottlenecks or problems. The next thing we're going to do is create our machinery process. From anywhere, you're going to hit Control-J or Command-J and search for machinery. So make sure you click on Machinery, the platform app. You're going to click on Machinery. You're going to click on New Graph in the upper right. And here we have our empty machinery graph. You're going to click on Add Process on the left. We're giving three options here: state, action, and an automation. Now, this is for authoring a process, but we already have a process implemented. So we're going to instead click on Configure Mining. So here, we're going to configure things on the right. So for the object type, it's going to be claims. So Gina C, claim. The state property is going to be the state. Hit confirm. Next, we're going to click Transition Log Ontology. Click Install New Log Object Type. Map an existing log object type would be if you already had that log object type. We have the data, but we don't have the object yet. Click on Install New Log Object Type. Make sure you have the dataset option selected. Hit Next. The dataset, we'll hit Select. You'll either find it here in your current directory, or you search for Claim Logs. Click on it, and select. For the process ID, we're going to select claim ID. For state, it's going to be new state. For timestamp, of course, it's going to be timestamp. We'll hit next. We have to choose an installation location. We'll hit select. I'm going to put this in my Speedrun, mining your first business process folder. Hit move and hit install. Now the installation is in progress, so we'll hang tight while this finishes. When you see this message, installation successful, accept log ontology, hit confirm. The build is in process, so we're going to have to hang tight while that finishes. In the meantime, we can take a look at these properties that we have. So the old state, the new state, the timestamp, the process object ID, the duration, is latest flag, the path, the action type RID, and owning RID. Let's focus on these first couple. Essentially what happened here is it took our logs data set and restructured it. These are the properties that we're working with now. We have to hang tight while indexing and building finishes. Once it's done, we're going to mine our process. Now everything is finished, the object type is finished indexing, and we're ready to mine. Click Ready to Mine. You can see that in my graph, everything is in order, everything is connected. But if your graph isn't showing up as expected, if it's showing up, say, disconnected, what you can do is your object type is now created, your log object is officially created. So if this is not showing up as you think it should, don't worry about it. What you can go do is hit cancel here, hit configure mining again. Maybe your object type claim is selected, maybe it's not. Regardless, select it, select state as a state property. Here's what you're going to do different. And again, this is only if your graph is not showing up right. If it's showing up and the nodes are connected, it looks right. If it's showing up and the nodes don't look connected, this is when you'd be doing this. Because your object type is already built and indexed, you'd hit map an existing log object type, select the linked object type. I have a couple. I'm going to click Gina C claim state log, ready to mine. And there we go. Only do that last set of steps if your graph does not initially look like this. Now that we have our graph, the first thing that we're going to do is revise our states and make sure that all of these are expected. So the nodes here represent states, and the edges between the nodes represent the transitions between states. All of these states are expected. Of course, if in the future you're mining a process and you find some unexpected states, you can also remove them. But for now, everything we see, we expect to see, so we're going to hit confirm. So we're going to hit save, and I'm going to call this claims process. And hit save. Everything looks as it should. So we can take a look here at the transitions. If you need to create a new transition, you can click and drag from one node to another. But in this case, we don't need to do anything, so we're not going to touch that. When we look at each transition, though, let's talk about what we see. In each transition, we can create a new state. We can assign actions that will automatically apply these transitions to the process objects. And lastly, we can create an automation that will create a notification when the transition is made. So these are all using just regular old ontology primitives, but they're specifically being used to fit a process mining use case. And that's what makes this different. Let's move on to the next step. Now that we're in our saved graph, when you hit expand, you'll see that we can see what object is being used in our process, so Gina C claim. And if you click the cog, hit configure ontology. So now that you can see which object is being used here, in the next step, we're actually going to rename that log object because it has a slightly confusing name right now. So you're going to click on Gina C claim. And that's going to take you to the ontology configuration for Gina C claim. And you're going to see that you should have a couple linked objects. So here you have your claim object type, and you'll see its associated linked objects. So Gina C customers and Gina C claim state. I'll click on Gina C claim state log and click on the object itself, so this first option. I'm going to rename it slightly. You'll see that the default name is Gina C claim state log. Can be a bit confusing, so we're going to rename this to Gina C claim log. And hit save. And save to ontology. And save changes. Again, this is an optional step, but renaming this object type does make things a little bit more readable, so that is an option if you're trying to optimize for readability, especially when you're working in a large and complicated ontology. And now we have mapped our existing process within machinery. We're going to move on to building an application. So at this point, again, we've created a machinery process. Now we're going to surface this process using Workshop. So Workshop and machinery are totally interoperable, and that's because of the ontology. Machinery and Workshop both work with the ontology, and ontology gives them a shared language to make them highly interoperable with each other. So let's go build our Workshop app. So now you're going to go back to your process. So this guy here, if you can't find it, it might be in your recent files. It would look something like this. So we're going to click on Workshop Modules and hit Create Module. So click Create Module. This is essentially bootstrapping a Workshop module from our existing process. You could also create a Workshop module from scratch if you prefer, but this saves us a little bit of time. When you see the green toast, module installed successfully, you're going to click on View. And here you'll see it's made us a little application. So again, we could have absolutely done this from scratch, but this just is a shortcut for us. I do want to flag that we are currently in view mode, and if we went into edit mode, then you can totally customize this, build on top of it, anything you want. So let's look at our Process Explorer section on this workshop. So up in the corner, you're going to see this arrow. If you click on the arrow, that allows us to filter the transitions. And so we can change the slider. So the slider goes between minimum graph and full graph. And this lets us filter in and out transactions based on some sort of metric. And we can define that metric under transitions based on. So instead of number of transitions, we're going to change this to average lead time. So now we can play around with this and say slide all the way to the left. Well, that's only going to show us the path with the largest lead time. And now if we slide it one notch to the right, it's going to add the transactions with the next largest lead time. And then if we go all the way to the right, it's going to show us the full graph again. Well, let's explore some metrics. So let's go to this little icon to the right of expectations. So this guy here, you're going to click on this little icon, so the sliders. And here is where we can manage the metrics that are shown in the nodes and the edges. So these little guys in the boxes and on the edges. So right now we're showing average throughput time, count, and average duration. So to include a new metric, we're going to hit Include Metric. And the metric is going to be max duration current. And so that's going to add the longest time that an object is spending in this state. Now, note that these numbers are going to be a little bit inflated because this data is pretty old at this point, and so these state numbers are going to be somewhat inflated. So let's keep going and explore the edge metrics. So you're going to click on Edges. Make sure the metrics toggle is on. And you'll see that under the type, we have average lead time. So if we scoot these around a little bit just so we can see better, if we look at under investigation, we can see that the average duration and the max duration are much, much, much higher than the lead time of both of the outgoing transactions. So that could indicate a delay in exiting the state. Now, careful here. Again, the data is old. These numbers are going to be inflated, but the truth still stands. There might be a delay. Let's think about these metrics again. So right now we're looking at average lead time. If we change this from average lead time to number of transitions, we'll be able to see now how many claims are entering each state and how many are leaving. So if we look at under investigation, we can see that 266 claims are entering the under investigation state, but only about 16 are ever exiting. Now that ought to be concerning. That means that claims might be getting stuck in the under investigation state. Clearly, there's something wrong here. We probably want to investigate this. Let's go do that. So first, make sure that this left-hand filters panel is expanded. And at the very bottom, you're going to hit Add Filter. And we're going to filter on high risk. So you're going to click on high risk, and we're going to hit no to look at claims only made by non-risky customers. Here, we can see a problem. So from our subject matter knowledge, we know that being high risk is a necessary condition for an investigation step. But you'll see here, even though we're filtering for non-high risk, 170 claims are still entering this state and none are leaving. So to fully understand the scope of this problem, we're going to once again, so we have our metrics open here. If it's not open, just click that vertical sliders icon again. And we're going to change this from number of transitions to flow rate. And so here we can see that 25% of the non-risky claims are being sent to this state and none of them are exiting. And so that's probably part of our problem that we're seeing. And so right off the bat, we're able to get some useful information out of this graph. Now that we've explored the process a little bit, let's add some customization to the workshop app. So thus far, we've been in view mode. This is the view that your users would be in. Now let's go into edit mode. So edit mode is how we're actually going to modify the app. So you're going to click on the 3 dots here, hit edit. You can ignore any pop-ups, hit close. And now we're going to create a custom metric. If you want to save some real estate, you can always close the filters tab. Let's go configure this graph widget. So if you click on the graph right here, you're going to see that we're looking at the machinery app widget. And if you scroll down, you'll see the default metrics that are being shown here. So these are the node metrics. And then we have also some custom metrics, so the average throughput time. And so under custom metrics, we're going to hit add metric. That you can also add a function back metric. So we're going to hit add metric and click on unlabeled metric 2. So click into it. And we're going to name it total value. Total value. And under description, so the course gives you the description, which is the total sum of claim values under this state. So to understand how big this problem is, part of what's going to help us is understanding the total claim value that's going into this state and just getting trapped there. Now, under the aggregation, we're going to be looking at the process objects, so the claims. Click on process objects. Now hit add step. So here we're going to be taking the sum, specifically the sum of value. Now, the value here is a monetary value, so we're going to want to toggle on numeric formatting and change the base type from standard to currency, specifically USD. So now that we made a change, we're going to hit save or save and publish, whatever you're seeing, and then go back into view mode. So now you're going to hit view. Make sure to toggle on show by default before you move on. So this guy here, toggle that on. And now we're going to hit save. You can hit the drop down to make sure you publish it. So if you don't see save and publish here, if you only see save, go click on where it says unpublished on the left. And you can toggle on automatically publish when saving. And now make sure you hit save and publish and hit view. And now we're in view mode. Remember, you can always move the nodes around to be able to get more breathing room here. Let's look at under investigation. And on this node, you're going to see the total value. You'll see it's about 152,000. Now that's the value of all the claims under that state, but we really want to focus on the ones that are stuck there. So to only look at that problematic pattern of ending up in the under investigation state and not leaving, you're going to click on this icon here. So in your upper right, open that, and that is our Path Explorer. And so this view is going to cover all the different paths that the claims can take. And so we're going to select that second path, which is going to only include the claims that go from submitted all the way into under investigation. And so if you hover over this part, you can see all the things that are happening. So we'll click on this second path. So we're going to start by looking at high-risk claims. And remember, the high-risk claims are the ones that are rightfully ending up in the under investigation state. So we'll hit add filter. And we're going to grab high risk and say, yes, high risk. Add a filter. And so we added that filter in. And then per the course, we're also limiting to claims over $250 and from the UK. So we'll hit add filter, click value, and the value is a minimum of $250. And the country, we're going to hit add filter. The country is going to be UK. And you can see that the total value for these claims, so specifically high-risk claims over $250 from the UK, specifically following this path, are about $33,000 total value. So now let's change up the filters. And so instead of looking at the UK, let's look at France. And we'll look at claims over $500 coming out of France. You can see here the value is about $28,000. Now at this point, we're estimating that over $90,000 worth of claims are being stuck in investigation when they shouldn't be. That's a lot of claims. That is 60% of the claims under investigation should not be there. So let's make sure to catch it early. And we're going to do that by implementing an alert automation. So to add this automation, we're actually going to navigate straight to automate. So the learn.palantir.com course is going to instruct you to go to your machinery graph, but for this purpose, we're going to do this straight from automation. So from wherever you are, you're going to hit Control-J and search for automate. Now you're going to click on automate. So automate is a tool that allows you to string together conditions and effects. So we're going to hit new automation. The trigger. So again, automation is composed of conditions and effects. In this case, the condition is going to be, do I see a claim where the status is under investigation and it's not high risk? If so, we're going to fire off an alert. So you're going to choose the condition, object added to set. We're going to click on that one. The object type that we're going to be looking at is Gina C, or your name, claim. We're going to be filtering on a property. Hit filter on a property. And we're going to be filtering on high risk is false and state is under investigation. So that is the 170 claims. We want to know if any new claims come in that look like these. That is the condition. Let's move on to the effect. We're going to click next. For the effect, it's going to be a notification. So a notification is an email or also an in-platform notification. Click add. The recipients are going to be us. So Gina. It's going to be single execution. So for every new object that gets added that meets this criteria, it's going to fire. Under content, we're going to do a regular plain notification. The header is going to be non-risky claim has entered investigation. The message is going to be a claim that is not risky has entered investigation. This should not happen. And now we're going to hit next and next and next. We see a summary of this automation. So again, we're listening for new objects coming in, new claims coming in that are both not high risk and under investigation. We're looking for new objects entering this object set. So new objects that meet this criteria. It doesn't have to be a new claim getting created, to be clear. It could be an existing claim that has had its state changed to under investigation. So whenever that's happening, whenever the group of claims that are not high risk and have a state of under investigation, this is going to fire and send an email. And hit create automation. An automation is a resource. It needs a name and location. And we're going to call this non-risky claim entering investigation. It lives in the Speedrun at Mining Your First Business Process folder, and hit save. And now we've created our automation. Let's do a summary of what we've done in this section. In this section, we embedded our process into a workshop module. We also did some configuration to change how it shows up in workshop. Also some exploration to try to answer these questions of what is going wrong and why are claims getting stuck and under investigation. Then, to make sure that we proactively know when these things are happening and they shouldn't, we set up an automation. And that concludes our hands-on work for this course. So in summary, we took some data sets, we created an ontology, we mined a process using machinery, we put this into workshop, customized how this shows up in workshop, and created an automation. If you're looking to continue learning, you can always browse the Palantir Learning course catalog to find more courses to take. Last but not least, remember that you can always leave Palantir feedback on how you found this course. And that concludes the course. Thanks for watching. We hope you found this helpful. Let us know what you want to see next or if you have any questions in the comments.